What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Rusher, and welcome back to another episode of Pixel Strike 3D In Depth. In today's episode, we'll be taking a look at one of three starter weapons in this game. And considering we're still doing the trend of SMGs and everything, it's obviously going to be the MP5K. Now, the MP5K is one of three weapons you get at the beginning of the game. You also get the Special Forces rifle, which is the assault rifle, the starter assault rifle, and then you also get the marksman rifle, which is the sniper you start with. But enough about that little history lesson. We'll get to more of the MP5K's history later and what you can do with it and all this other stuff. But what does it do now? What are its stats? We're going to kick things off straight away with the damage. Now, this thing does 22 damage stock, 24.2 with hollow points, and 19.8 against Jug, and all that will drop off at 20 meters of range. It's got a 1.5 times headshot multiplier and not a very fast time to kill, but it's got a fast time to kill, so it's got good SMG damage, but the range could cause some problems since 20 meters isn't that much. It is a lightning fast 5-shot kill in close quarters combat and 6 shots versus Jug. Anything outside of 20 meters will make it a little more difficult to kill faster, despite its high fire rate, which is actually 600 RPM or 10 bullets per second, which is pretty damn high. I think it's like the third or second highest. I think it's like the third highest, tied with the Vector for fire rate. As for its bullet spread accuracy, it has 70 at base, gains 160 per bullet, and caps at 1100, so it's got okay hipfire stats, but it's still pretty decent at hip firing. It's slightly worse than the TMP, but it's not really that bad, all things considered. It's got a good ADS speed at 120, and for an SMG, 50 recoil is pretty damn low. It's got excellent recoil for ADS, because then the gun will actually kick less than others in its class, so that's really good. It's actually tied with the Vector for best SMG recoil, so if you ever want an aim down sight with the MP5K, then there's not really that much holding you back because it's got pretty damn low recoil. Most of the SMGs have like 80, 90 recoil, other than the TAC SMG, which I think has like 60 or 70, so pretty stable for an SMG. It doesn't have the biggest ammo pool. I think you're looking at 30 in the clip with 120 in reserve, and then if you throw an extended clip, that's when you're actually going to get more bang for your buck, because you'll actually start with 45 with 180 in reserve. And it's got a nice fast reload time at 1.42 seconds, which is pretty nice. It's a nice fast reload time. You know, the faster you reload, the sooner you can get back into the gunfight, which is always a good thing. Now, moving on to its playstyle, much like the P90 from the last episode, you're going to want to stick to close quarters combat and be aggressive and fast. However, the MP5K has half of the range the P90 does. If you remember from the last video, the P90 actually has 40 meters of range, but this gun right here actually has 20. So that's something you got to keep in mind. The hipfire is decent and the recoil on the gun is surprisingly low, so it's easier to hit your targets and it's more consistent at hitting than the other SMGs, minus the Vector, which again has the same recoil. 30 bullets per clip doesn't look like much considering its high fire rate, so expect to burn through your bullets quick. On the plus side, this thing has a very fast reload time, like I said earlier, clocking in at 1.42 seconds. It's not as quick as the TMP's 1.34 seconds, but you can still get back into the fight sooner than several other weapons like the P90 at 2.02 seconds of reload time, or the MP7's very meh 2.16. Your biggest weakness will be your rather mediocre range, so you might want to pick a secondary that can compensate for your lack of it, or just bait people into getting into close quarters battles with you. In terms of your class setup, this SMG loves close quarters, and since you're going to be running around a lot more with this type of weapon than something like, something with more range like the P90 or any of like the assault rifles or anything like that, you're going to need to prepare yourself for close quarters combat most of the time. With that said, I'd recommend throwing a silencer on this weapon and running Ninja so that you stay off the radar every gunfight, and no one will be able to hear you coming. Other attachments you might want to consider are foregrip, obviously, because that will actually improve your recoil, and one of the optics too, preferably the red dot since you get more peripheral vision. You get less recoil with the ACOG, but it kind of hinders your vision. It just gets in the way. It's kind of bulky. So yeah, you're going to want to run a red dot. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from running ACOG, but I prefer red dot if anything. Now, you don't have to run optics in a foregrip because 50 recoil is actually really good, but the less recoil, the better, so you could run those and still do pretty well. You're likely going to want to run hollow points because if you're shooting at a Juggernaut user, it's actually going to take 6 shots to kill with the stock weapon, which isn't really what you want if you want to quickly take someone down. Especially if you're running silencer, because the silencer actually hinders your range by 10%, so it's actually going to cut your range by 2 meters, and every meter helps, right? Another perk I'd recommend is lightweight, because it'll let you move from point A to point B faster, which can really spare you from getting shot in the back on maps like Easter Island or Shipment, for example. Maps where the spawns are kind of jank, and it's easy to get shot in the back, so lightweight actually helps in that department. It also works really well with Ninja, because then you can move around quick and no one will be able to hear you moving around. Extended clip will definitely help the MP5K's ammo count, bringing it next to P90 levels of ammunition. So it'll start with 45. You know how the P90 starts with 50 ammo stock? Yeah, with extended clip, the MP5K will actually start at 45, which is plenty. Now, to give my final opinion on this weapon, it's an okay weapon. It's pretty bad at range because of its damage range being 20 meters, which isn't the worst SMG range given the Bison only has 15, but it's still pretty mid for medium range gunfights where it'll end up getting more hit markers. In saying that though, this is ultimately one of the 3 starter weapons, so it's not going to be anything remarkable. But do not, and I repeat, do not let that stop you just because it's a weapon you get at the start of the game, because it's still a very solid weapon and is a foundation of how weapons should be balanced. It's got good strengths and weaknesses. You know, the MP5K, despite its good fire rate, low recoil, good hipfire spread, fast ADS speed, and fast reload speed, gets balanced out by its mid-damage, short ammo count, and pretty pathetic range for all it's worth. But yeah, that'll be it for this episode of In Depth, the MP5K. Very solid weapon. Recommend you go ahead and give it a spin if you haven't already. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't have, because it's literally for free. You don't have to spend anything on this weapon. You get it at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of every prestige, so what's stopping you from using it if you want to, right? But that's going to be it for this episode of In Depth. Hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. If you liked the commentary, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're not subscribed, tell a friend to tell another friend to tell another friend, and expect more In Depths to come. We're still sticking with the SMG theme, so feel free to leave which SMG you'd like to see a review on in the next episode. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. It's Rusher. I'm out of here. Peace.